How would it feel to have a thriving fitness business and have the freedom to enjoy life at the fullest? Well, that is exactly what the Trainer Revenue Multiplier show is going to give you. My name is Mathew Park. This is Jaime Filer.
Hey guys.
And we are here to serve. Guys, Jaime, we are live. What do you figure?
What's going on, everybody? And welcome to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier podcast. As always, I am your host, Jaime Filer, and I am joined today, or I am joining today, Mathew Park, who's recently recovered from his first Grand Cayman hurricane.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. My first experience, Category 3, Jaime. It was a good experience. Yeah. It was a good first time.
For sure. For sure. I love it. I love it. So Mathew, we have quite a topic today that has a lot of depth, but also a lot of breadth, because there are so many, I mean, you know me, I love strategy and I love psychology. And honestly, time management is 50% strategy and 50% psychology. And when I asked you why we were talking about this, you said it was because you've been getting a lot of questions from our TRM family specifically about this. So it's really important to address, because whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or a rookie entrepreneur, time management is still something you're going to have to navigate.
Yeah. I also picked you, Jaime, because of course, one of the things I've noticed in knowing you now for over 6 years, and of course, meeting you now joined TRM, now being a mentor, now being a coach, now being one of the key members in our company and helping our clients win, you've really mastered a lot of these principles. I see how much you can achieve and accomplish, in a week that most of us can't do in a month. So, right? Yeah. Well, it's good because we'll be able to kind of hear and also learn back and forth, and share what our clients are going through for their struggles, like you mentioned, right? Give them techniques, but also give them some not vulnerable, but like ways to think differently with time when they get it back,
Yeah. So I guess that's a perfect place to start. A great segue is at the beginning. How do you win more time back? Let's just start there. How do you get more time?
You teach us in Gold, Jaime, that build it, book it model, right? So the one thing we talked about is, really number one is auditing, which you've spoken in the Gold program about this, right? Auditing the Gold process. So when you are overwhelmed, I know what helps me anyway, is I love brain dumping on paper. So I have to get my head onto a piece of paper first off.
Okay.
That's what I do. That's the first thing I do. Now from there, you can do other steps, but some will just go meditate, some will go for a walk, some will go for a workout, whatever you decide to do. For me, I have to go dump it out.
Okay. Great answer. Great answer. I get more time back. It's so funny, Mathew, that your answers are so appropriate for you, and mine are like such a Jaime Filer answer. My answer for how to get more time back is the 3x3x3 method. It's like so scheduled. So I know what goals I want to accomplish this quarter. I know what it's going to take, I don't yet know what it's going to take, but I set them, right? This is what we do in TRM as well, right? Your Q4, Q3 planning calls. So I set 3 objectives for each quarter. I set 3 objectives for each month, and I set 3 objectives for each day. And as long as I get typically my daily objectives done, I will reach my monthly objectives. And then from monthly, I end up reaching quarterly. So I get more time back by saying, Jaime, you only have to do these 3 things per day. Anything else is a bonus.
Okay, this is cool. Okay, this is why this is cool. Because we had that one pacing that we built. We've had a couple of quarterly calls. You've just taken the process and made it even more simpler, Jaime. And I love it. This is why we're such a good mix, a yin and a yang, because what you shared, I'm like, darn, that was actually kind of good, So getting time back, because I'm a visionary person, of course, you're different, more logically type A, that structured process, hence why you help us all stay accountable. But then, it's like asking the question, well, how do you deal with overwhelm when it hits you? Which it hits me sometimes. So, but what you just shared there, I like. So let me ask you this, Jane. How do you keep yourself accountable to those steps?
There are two different ways. Number one is similar to your brain dumping. I just have a notebook.
Mhm.
I have a notebook and I write down the night before what the 3 biggest priorities are for the next day. And then I'm trying to find an example. Oh my gosh. Okay. For those of you on YouTube, you get to see this. I literally just crossed them off, Mathew.
Sweet. I
That's
love that.
it. And then the other way so again, everything is strategy and psychology. So strategically, I write them down, I cross them off. Psychologically, what is the bigger goal here? What is the bigger vision? The bigger vision is to have whatever, let's just say $700,000 a year. What does that break into quarterly? Okay, great. That's important to me. There's an emotional anchor there. So I don't muck around with my goals because I keep the bigger picture in mind.
Sweet. I love that, Jane. I love that. So let's go back a few years because I still remember the day you text me and says,
Yeah.
I have my first vacation with Katie.
Yeah.
I remember the text you sent me, I remember where I was, what I was doing, and I
Sure.
was like, oh, I felt so good hearing that you took your first trip with your wife.
Yeah.
So take us back to that moment. It was probably 3 years ago, Jane, 3.5 years ago when you did.
I know, which is so sad and crazy at the same time, right? Like, why did it's fine.
And now it's like you guys are always
Yeah.
traveling. Like, Matt, I got to
I
go on
know.
a call. Can you call? Like, so it's so cool to see how fast it's evolved from that
Yeah.
one call. So
Yeah.
we can go back to that moment for a second because I think a lot of the members in TRM, our family, and even maybe people listening, they're at that stage where they want to take vacations, but then you've done this. You've already lead by example. So
Yeah.
what was going on in your mind before you got that vacation and
Yeah.
afterwards? It's a big question, but it's a big one,
Yeah. So a lot of scarcity mindset around my first vacation, even though I was very excited and the anticipation was building and Katie was stoked. There were still so many nerves because I was spending money. And as an early entrepreneur, you're like, shit, like I might not necessarily be able to control my income, but I can certainly control my outgoing. When you pay for vacation, you're like, there it goes. I'm just spending money. So there was getting over that. And then there was, of course, the income. If I'm not in my business, how do I make money? And I was still almost thinking like a brick and mortar in-person trainer who's if I'm not coaching this one session, I'm not making that hour of money. So there was so much, whatever the negative version of anticipation is, dread, I guess it's called dread. Going on vacation the first time. Yeah.
Wow. So now from that time to now, so what's changed for you now?
Now I go to Greece for 10 days. Now what's changed? I have a team. That's probably one of the biggest things. So I'm not worried about my client fulfillment because the truth is I don't have a lot of clients anymore. I can get the amount of work I have to do to move, not necessarily to move my business forward. I don't want to give us that much credit, but I cannot lose money in my business by going away for 10 days, thanks to my team and my systems. So I'm not worried. When I went to San Diego for, I think it was 5 or 6 days, we had a great month. When I went to Greece, we broke even. So like knowing that stuff won't shatter just because I'm not making moves is the biggest difference.
What I want to convey to all the listeners here that's beautiful about this, guys, is this wasn't an overnight thing Jane went through, right? This took
Oh yeah, you said it yourself, 3 years. Yeah. 3 years.
right? And incredibly, I remember when she would like go on this vacation here. She would to Nashville. You were going here. You were going with Katie. It was always these mini little trips, and all of a sudden you had a big one. And now look, and it's actually very inspiring, but also exciting because I've known you for a while, right? To see where you were to where you are now. Imagine where 6 years will be, Jane.
Yeah.
From this conversation. Right?
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm optimistic. How has your time at management changed? I know that, I mean, you've got 2 kids, you've got a wife, you're your lifestyle doesn't necessarily lend itself to traveling as much. But for those people who have a family, Mathew, how do you manage your time, and what do you do with the time you've gotten back?
So I've learned a lot about having kids in business in the last few years, more than ever. What I've learned, see, what I was doing 3 years ago is I was sticking to that box of life that, okay, my kids, don't bug me, don't come to my office, don't bother me. And I was getting angry
Okay.
if they bugged me. And I was
Yeah.
so I was like letting so now I'm like, kids, you want to come say hi to Papa when I'm on a sales call? Come, that's totally fine.
Oh my
I'll bring you on
God.
the call, right? And also,
Yeah.
Jimmy will come in. That's rough. One day I was joking. I was like talking to a client. Oh, Jimmy came in. He's gonna come say. He's like, I don't want to come show the client. So I'm being
Yeah.
open. I've changed it to having fun with my children if they're
Oh
at
my
home
God.
running
Hell
a
yeah.
business, right?
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
no box for them. I'm like, I love you, Jimmy and Lily. If you come in, Daddy's not going to worry about it. And I tell the client on the call, my son's in here, so just so
Just
you
letting you
know,
know. Yeah.
bring him in,
Yeah.
that changed for me, James. The other
I
part
think
is truly, go ahead, James. So,
I was just going to say, I think that's a really big deal in terms of relatability, Mathew, that people can see that if you tell them that they can run a business while having a little kid at home, as you're literally doing it,
yeah,
it makes you more authentic, but also the authority
thank
because
you.
you're on a sales call while you're doing it. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Because I want them to see you can have the life you want and you
Yeah.
can come and see that whenever you need to
Yeah.
if I'm building our dream.
Yep.
If the person can't understand that on the call, maybe call isn't for you. Sorry.
Totally. Yeah.
No.
Yep. And
So
that's
it's
okay.
a respect thing, right? It's a love
Yeah.
thing. So it's funny how I've noticed my kids open up to me more. And also client calls become so fun because there's no worry if they come in the room.
Yeah. Right.
So what?
There's so much less pressure.
Yeah, totally. That was one thing, Jane. Time back. So I've noticed I haven't necessarily gained a lot of like time. So I'm going to reword that. I've gained time back, but in different ways
Okay.
than what you've mentioned. Because of course I have 2 kids and I got a wife, right?
Yeah.
What I've gained freedom. I've gained freedom to go and at 4 o'clock, go play with my kids at the park or go hang out for 2 hours, as opposed to being
Yeah.
on calls. 6.
Yeah.
If I want to go hang with my kids for the afternoon, take them for dinner, we're going to go.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I've changed for me. So it wasn't so much I had time to like do other stuff. It's more of I've used that time to put into them and my wife because those are my pillars.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. And again, I think we said it right. Like what do you value? I mean, do you want to use your money to go away? Do you want to use your money to buy Facebook ads? Do you want to use your money to buy nice things? How do you want to spend your time? It's currency either way, right? Like, what are you spending your time on? And there's no judgment either way. So that was really, yeah, awesome, Mathew. Thank you for sharing. Let's get into, I don't want to call it like the dark side of time, but similar to the way that going away used to give me anxiety and a feeling of dread. Let's talk about busy. Are you addicted to being busy?
Ooh, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have really good answers on this one, Jamie. You and I both.
Yeah.
Am I addicted to being busy? I think a part of me still is. To be
Okay. Yeah.
totally vulnerable still.
Yeah.
The person I was 2 years ago, or even 5 years ago, was very addicted to work.
Totally.
Workaholic. If I wasn't working, I thought I was failing. The person I am now is way different, like a 180 from that man I was before. Have I had to?
Amazing.
I've learned that I've integrated my kids into my life, not
Yeah.
blocking it out, angry. It's like no. So now, what I've realized, you mentioned that thing, is that it's more of a process I've gone through and learned. And actually, I'm going to change that over to you, Jay, if you don't mind sharing kind of the dark side for you, because I think that what I love about you and I is you have furry kids, right? And a wife.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have unfurry kids, which they're still kids at the end of the day. Let's face it. You have to get dog sitters
Still,
when you go away.
yeah, they require attention. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's an angle for you? I'm kind of curious your side.
So the truth is I have a complicated relationship with busy, if we're being completely transparent. I use work to escape often. Not as often anymore, but for me, it's still definitely a clutch. When I feel like I'm not in control of something in my life, I will go to work. When I feel anxious about something, I will go to work because there's always something to do. And the relief for me comes in feeling productive and effective. So the way some people, and this might answer the question very perfectly, when they're feeling like they're spiraling, they'll grab a drink, which kind of tells you that you have an alcohol problem. The solution is not working. There's something in here and in here that I need to work through, but I've chosen work instead. So that is a pattern I'm currently working on, and it's gotten a lot better. The other issue for me is the scarcity mindset. So it's not that I'm addicted to being busy, it's that I haven't 100% worked through my scarcity mindset, or what you would call the gap versus the gain. So I turn to being busy to fill the void.
Oh, that was so good, Jaime. I want to just embrace
How
what
many
you just said.
feelings? Pardon?
No, I know it's like you're like so comfortable. I have to
So
take a break.
comfortable. Yeah.
That was so freaking good, Jaime. So
Thank
freaking
you.
good because it
Thank
came
you.
from here,
Yeah.
not up in here.
No.
And it shows your human side, which is actually makes us connect with you deeper. I know you're like, oh, what?
Yeah,
No,
let's talk
you.
about business.
Right?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
But
So yeah, that's what it comes down to. And again, this is 5 years later, and I'm still right. It's again, I hate to make the parallel, and I can't 100% speak to addiction or alcohol addiction, but like the same way you'd refer to yourself as sober, but in recovery, like
yeah.
I could go back to being a workaholic in a hot minute. So that's something I'm actively, you're always working on it, right? You're always working on your sobriety. I'm always trying to work on my work addiction.
I want to share that you kind of open up a gate for me. So it's like, one thing I've noticed when I was working through my workaholism for myself, I asked the question, what can I replace with my time or,
Yes.
with things that are triggers for me?
Yep.
For me, it was training in the gym. For me, it's going for a walk or putting in a podcast, going for a walk,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Now I can go for a swim. Like, I love water. So I like pop in the pool, I come back, I already have a mental switch, right?
Amazing. Yeah.
Or you're gonna laugh at this, Jane, because you know me. I
Yeah.
love to joke. Okay, now why am I a jokester? I've always kind of been a jokester since I was a kid. Okay,
Yeah.
but when I'm joking, I do it because for me, it's like it brings out playfulness in the converse. It almost ice breaks people
Yeah.
into getting into their heart and then connects too. So for
Yeah.
me, it's a stress relief.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And Mathew, I think there's nothing wrong with just getting out of the environment, right? Like again, if being in a bar is triggering, even if you've been sober for 8 years, get out of the bar. If you are a client of one of ours, or like a personal training client, and Oreos are a trigger food for you, don't leave them in the house. There are simple solutions if you find yourself always falling back into these habits and these patterns. So you want to tell jokes, you want to go for a walk, you want to go to the park, you want to go in the pool, you want to go to the gym, get out of the environment, right? Like shut the laptop, turn off your notifications on your phone, go on airplane mode, put Spotify on, and let the rest of the world fall away.
That's so good. That's so good. What are things, Jim, you've replaced? Like almost like I used, training and so forth. What things you used when you get triggers that you replaced to help you?
Yeah. So the first one, and it's funny because this ended up, oh my God, this shot me in the foot yesterday. I've turned off notifications for Instagram, Facebook, and High Level. But with High Level, I missed a sales call because I didn't have my notification. Yeah. We're working on it. Katie and I are figuring it out. But I mean, that's a good thing, right? Like it's not a good thing to miss a sales call, everybody. But it meant I was so disconnected that I missed a sales call. So there's a fine line. So what do? I turn off my notifications because that sets my environment up for success, right? If it doesn't pop up, I'm not inclined to look at it. I try to go for walks. I'm not as good at it as I used to be, because I don't set aside intentional time. So often I'll have meetings back to back to back. So that's something I'm working on. And I leave my house to go to the gym. I don't train out of my garage anymore. I go to either CrossFit or a gym that's like 15 minutes away.
That is so cool, Jaime.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the walking thing. I'm having the same issue myself currently. It's like I go for the walk and I put an audiobook in because it kind of like, helps me stay grounded.
Sure.
But then it's funny you mentioned that. But what's also cool is how many of our people in TRM probably go through very similar things.
All of them, Mathew. All of
That's
them.
what I mean.
100%. Yeah.
Teaching,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I love about it, is how open, like we're helping lead this team right now. These coaches,
Yeah.
they're like looking up to us as like, oh, we're so cool. I'm like, yeah, we're cool, but we're also human.
Yeah.
And I'll be very transparent. I've never had more fun with you on podcasts. The last couple of podcasts we've had together, I've had a blast.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Because we're like really going, I think, into the business, but also the psychology of how, as you become more successful,
Yeah.
you're sharing what really is freaking going on here.
What's really hard. Yeah. Yeah. I think there are enough, honestly, business podcasts or like blogs and stuff you could Google about how to get more leads and how to nurture your people and objection handling, but like how not to be addicted to your business is a little bit more powerful,
It's true. And I think because we both have stories in different ways, but kind of similar, not similar, but kind of. And we're having the courage to share our shit, Jaime. Excuse my language. And that
right.
I think it's so beautiful when you will do that. Some choose not to, but we are. And how much you also have worked on it. Like I've seen what you've done the last year. It gives me goosebumps even talking about it because I remember how much work you put into it last year. I was like, holy crap, like Jaime is like morphing. But she also is going into the stuff that's tough and turning into who she is now. And it's honestly, it's beautiful, Jaime. It really is. No genuine like goodness. I have just seen you change a lot in a good way, and it's making like the respect factor for you always was there, but it's kind of like leveled up because I'm like, fuck, Jaime is like really stepping into her shit and owning it, and then also being an example of it, saying that okay, here's where I am. I'm still going through this right now, but then winning still in multiple areas of your life.
I appreciate that, Mathew.
Yeah, I mean that.
Thank you for seeing that. Any last words for people before we shut this party down and turn the house lights up?
Don't be too hard on yourself. Take whatever you took from the show, take some notes from either one of us, whatever applies to you, and just go at the pace you want to go, but don't feel guilty about stuff. I know you probably might do that. And if you need to, reach out to us for help. We'll help you.
Yeah.
Yourself, Jaime, anything for you want to share things out? Yeah.
Just remember it's a process. You're going to go forwards. You're going to go backwards. You're going to make progress. You're going to relapse. And that's going to be okay. Just make sure you're open and honest with yourself and others about it.
I love that, Jaime.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, we appreciate it. Please make sure you rate, share, subscribe to the podcast, post about us on social media, follow us along. We are at Trainer Revenue Multiplier on all social media platforms. We make it super easy for you, and make sure that you reach out if you have any questions or comments about our process. Until next episode, have the best rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.